Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Houston Element Podcast. My name is Missy, and I'm your host. And we are in our new home, in our new sanctuary, with some wonderful, wonderful, new, lovely guests. Okay? We are here today with an artist and a publisher and writer. We have Mr. Terrell Johnican AKA Breez.
Hey, nice to be here.
Pleasure to have you, man.
It's great.
So for those that are not familiar with your work, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so of course, name is Breez. I started off with poetry, and then I got into music, and then reverted back to poetry, and now I'm writing books. And so as I was writing books, I self-published a few poetry books, but then I realized I want to go a little further. I want to kind of do my own thing as far as publishing. So I got my own publishing company that I literally started like last year. So now here we go. I got 2 books here, and I'm here working for it.
Oh my goodness. Well, congratulations on all your success, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what are the 2 books that we're talking about today that you brought here with us?
So as a publishing company, of course, I'm going to publish my own books under me, right? But I also publish other people's books. So I do like publication, distribution, marketing, stuff like that. So right here, I have a poetry book from Andres X. It's called The Exiled Child. It's kind of talking about, Black life, Black mental health, Black love, the protesting, all that stuff like that. And then I have my book here. This is like my first non-poetry book because I was a first-generation college student. So this is kind of my guideline for first-generation college students of what they need to know, what they need to think about, how they need to move in college so they can make sure that they make it through.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, man. So how did you get started into writing, into poetry?
So it's actually, I was always doing some type of writing, but sometimes when you have like a passion or something and you were doing it without you even really knowing you were doing it, like in elementary, I was writing short stories and little poems and little stupid shit like that. But one moment was I had gotten in trouble in ISS, right? So I went to like the ISS and I was bored. Ain't nothing to do in there. They try to give you some BS work. Excuse me. They try to give you some BS work. I had my little PSP at the time. I'm showing my age, but I had my little PSP at the time under my desk playing Family Guy. But at some point I got bored. I just started writing like for real. And I wrote a poem called Why. And I was just asking a lot of questions about things that I wondered about society. And I showed it to a few friends, and they was like, damn, that's nice. You should keep doing that. And I just kept going.
Wow, man. I mean, I'm not saying that ISS brings the best out of you, but, in this situation, it did bring out the best in you.
Yeah, some people find their hobbies and dreams at ISS. When you ain't got nothing else to do, nothing to distract you, no video games, no friends,
Yeah. And so, is there any main inspiration behind your poetry and your writing? Any sort of muse that strikes you?
So most of my poetry is either like kind of related to love or created or revolving around, how can I say, like self-discovery. So like observations, things that I'm considering about the world, things I'm considering about myself. Like one of my poetry books was called Insomnia because it was mostly poems about things I would think about when I couldn't sleep. So it's a lot of mental health, it's a lot of society, it's a lot of love, but not always like great love. It's just like, damn, why is love like this? Like love, I love you, but damn. But yeah, so that's usually what I write about.
And you can write a book about that, couldn't you?
Right. You write 1 million books about love.
No pun intended. Like,
one of the few things I genuinely don't understand.
Oh my God. And bless your heart for embarking on this journey to try to put it into words.
Right. Try to figure it, because that's the only way I can figure life out is to write it out. For real. So, like, I can't even, like, when I try to explain stuff, I can't explain it as well as I can do over pen and pad. So,
I feel that, man.
yeah.
So, as a writer, and why did you decide? Why did you choose to go the route of becoming your own publishing company and publisher as well, instead of just getting an agent and going through that route?
So, pretty much as I was self-publishing, I was actually like looking for actual publishers and stuff, and just my demographic, where I come from, who I am. I didn't see a lot of that representation in the publishing industry, and honestly didn't feel comfortable sending a lot of my stuff to some publishers. Eventually, it got to the point where I was like, "Screw it, I'll just make my own and just publish under my own." And then it became more of like now I want to be that anomaly, or that publisher that my people or underrepresented people can come to and feel comfortable publishing their book under, and know that they're not getting screwed over or nothing, because it's just me. It's a partnership. And I'm an author too, so I'm not going to treat you like you just whatever. Like, we in this together.
What kind of variety of books and authors have you worked with thus far? Are they like nonfiction, fiction, so on?
So this is my first client that I've been working with. He does poetry, but he's actually also working on a manga.
Wonderful.
Yeah, he's working on a manga. That won't be under me, but I do appreciate that he's going into different things. So right now, the only books I've published is poetry and like a guidance. But I also want to do like maybe a young adult fiction or something. I haven't started writing it, but I want to create a superhero. So I've kind of created the superhero, but I'm still world building at the moment. And then I also want to do a fiction about, I love hood movies, so I want to do like a fiction about like some hood shit, really. Yeah.
Right on, man. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about your actual book, Different World, first? So what is the premise behind that book, and what was the process like for writing that book?
So, man, this book has become a couple years in the making, just with life in general. A book is a long process, and you see this book ain't even that big, so, excuse me. But basically, like I said, I'm a first generation college student. I didn't even have a master's degree at the time I started writing this, and then I got it. But I had mentors that kept me going, kept me alive in college and stuff. I was on the edge, like they was threatening to kick me out. But I had people that kept me going, gave me advice. So this book is kind of like that person for them. So it's like, hey, when you go to college, check your surroundings, figure out where you are. It's about adapting to a new environment, because if you are a first generation college student, you don't have people to translate that stuff for you. Your parents didn't go to college. Your counselors got too many kids at the high school, so they can't give you that attention that you need. Luckily, I went to like some specific programs that helped me out, but not every kid got that. So this is kind of that book for those people.
That's something that a lot of us could have benefit, you know what I'm saying? Because, man,
Right.
You think high school is crazy. Y'all don't know nothing. You don't know nothing from nothing, man.
Listen, I went into deep depressions in college.
Oh, my goodness.
And if I would have knew a little bit, I feel like I didn't really understand college until my junior year. Mm-hmm. It took me 3 years to figure it out.
Oh, my God.
But I got it through,
Yeah.
I crawled and scratched, but I got it through. So, why not give what I learned out to other people?
And you said you got your master's as well?
Yeah, I got a master's of education in higher education.
Oh my goodness. You went for the long haul, baby. Bless
Right.
your heart.
Right. And it was a long, because I went to 4 different master schools. Life.
Yeah.
Like, just life going in between. Life, like, listen, if you're trying to go into a master's program, that's a commitment. Like, you got to know that it ain't nothing that you just slip into, because it's going to be a point where you're going to want to quit. And you're going to need that extra drive. College, too, honestly. You know, the whole thing.
And you were writing that when you were doing your master's program?
Yeah. Yeah. But that's why it took so long, because I was doing it like bits and pieces.
Oh, my God. But that's impressive. Like, all that work you already had, and you still had time to articulate individual thoughts into your piece.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wow. Did you edit it yourself, like proofread it before, actually publishing it fully, or did you have another colleague edit it for you?
So the process was, I wrote the whole thing. I went through it, kind of edited myself, and then I added more stuff to it because I just felt like, I needed more information, more stories, more stuff. So then I did that. I looked it over again, and then I hired an editor to like make it look all pretty and Englishy, But basically, I hired the editor to make it publish ready. So it was already a decent, good book. They didn't change much. They just changed like some grammar, or they may have suggested like, "Hey, this sentence might be easier right here," or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so then after that, it took a long time for me to go through her edits. So after she edited, I went through it again to like see what I wanted, what I didn't want, because she made suggestions. So to see what I wanted, I didn't want, and then after that, it was done. Then I had to typeset it, which when you look in a book, words usually look a certain way. It don't just end up like that. You actually got to make it like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I typeset it, and then it's ready for publishing.
Oh, a lot of work. A lot of work.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And what about for the cover art? Did you work with an illustrator, or did you design it yourself as well?
So for my first 2 poetry books, I did it myself. But for these 2, my bro, if you want to go find him on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever, he's Ghost Loki the guy. Go check him out. He did these covers. So he's actually a VFX person. So he does a lot of like anime VFX. He turns himself into different anime characters all the time.
Oh my God.
So when we started, like this one, when he saw a different world, he was like, "Oh, we're gonna have worlds collide, and then I'm gonna blow some shit up." And I'm like, "Calm down. It's just about college."
Yeah.
So he did a really good job on his covers. But he wanted to go extreme. So, but he's a really good VFX artist. He's really good at anything Adobe, really, Premiere, After Effects, illustration, all that stuff. So, yeah.
Wonderful. So how did you build up this team to create your publishing company, Highest Calliber?
So it's really just me doing most of everything. It's really just me.
Bless your heart.
My client do their own marketing and stuff. So, and they there's royalties and percentages that come with the company and come to them. So, like I said, it's a teamwork. But really, the only other person that I outsource is Ghost Loki, the guy with the book covers, and he could also do book trailers as well. So, like, you want some cool ass book trailer, you want to make your book look cool, get a book trailer.
Oh, wonderful. And that's something I didn't even think about because I grew up way before YouTube was a thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So do you do book trailers for your pieces as well?
So what I do is, like those TikToks or those Instagrams where it got like the audio and then it got like a well lit clip of somebody doing some shit. So I get clips like that, and I put my poetry over it. So I like speak my poetry as like I record in the studio, like, but it's like a regular mic. Like I'm not paying the studio to. I do that for music,
Mm-hmm.
but so I record myself doing the poetry, and then I'll put some nice little clips over, it, and then I'll put that out. That's kind of like my little trailers, and I do some for him too, which is more related to him because this is actually a poetry book. So
Wonderful,
yeah.
wonderful. And where are your books available to purchase? Do you have it on your website or personal orders?
Yes, so you can order the books on my website, hcwriters.com. But it's also on Amazon. It's also on a bunch of other stuff, but really mostly just my website and Amazon.
Nice,
And
nice.
also, I try to go to like trade shows and, excuse me, sorry. I try to go to like trade shows, go out in the community because part of what I want this business to be also is a part of the community because that's really what it's about. So I want to go out to trade shows. I want to do community events, author talk, stuff like that as well. But I'm always have my books on me.
That was going to be my next question is how are your techniques for networking with other authors and writers?
So I do a bunch of open mics because I do spoken word as well. So I actually connect with a lot of artists that way. And honestly, you will be surprised how many people actually want to write a book.
Really?
There's a lot of people that say, man, I had this idea for a book. I just don't know where to start, where to go. So that's why I also want to implement like book coaching. So like I can coach someone through the process of getting a book. And they don't have to necessarily be a part of my publishing company, but that's like a freelance thing. But right now, like I said, I'm just really starting off, and really honestly, a lot of authors prefer to do self publishing because they don't want to get all in the business messy stuff. But uh, yeah, when time comes, it's slow and steady. Yeah, I'm not rushing nothing.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of fear of politics when it comes to working with different publishing companies or different professionals, which is why you prefer to keep it
Abs-
yourself?
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of different types of ways publishers interact. Like there's vanity publishers where the authors just pay them to be under the publishing, but they don't really do much. They just do a little bit of marketing and publish the book,
Mm.
and but it's really just to say, hey, I'm under a publishing company. Uh, I don't believe an artist should pay upfront. Like uh, there should be percentages, stuff like that going on. Did I answer the question? I feel like I got lost.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no, that was good. That was good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I know from the music side, there's a lot of bureaucratic paperwork,
Right.
contracts, and things. So
And it's not too different.
yeah,
To be honest, it's not too, as someone who's done music before. I mean, I ain't never had no record label, but I've studied like how that shit works,
hmm
and I study how the book publishing works, and it's not that different.
hmm
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about your work as your artist name Breez as well?
So I used to be called Calibreez, actually, and people still kind of call me that. But I wanted to change it a little bit because as you go through the world, you change. Like when I was a teenager, I was called Breezy, and that's when I was first starting to do music. And then when I got into college, I feel like I leveled up, so I went to Calibreez, and now I'm back to Breeze. Kind of shortened it, new person, you know. But yeah, I've been doing music since I started off doing parodies. Like my first parody, like I was talking about T-Pain on Sprung, talking about some fried chicken. And then after a while, after I, started taking poetry seriously, I started taking music more seriously at the same time. And then I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. Now I got like 7 mixtapes, an EP, all that stuff. I've done battle rap. I've done many performances, interviews, stuff like that. But it was mostly local. I'm from Galveston County. I did some shit in Houston, but most of it was local. But I enjoyed my time when I was doing music heavy. But at the same time, I was in college. So around my sophomore year, like my second year of college, I was doing music heavy, but I was dropping in my grades.
Mm.
And like I said, they was ready to kick my black ass out.
Ugh.
So I had to make a decision. And at the end of the day, I was like, yeah.
And how would you say you compare the workflows? Because, like, I heard from a lot of musicians that, they're like, it's a 100% time dedication thing. But I mean, you're both an artist, lyrically, writing style, So how would you say the workflows compare? Like, you were able to do your master's and write a book.
Right.
But, I don't know, maybe music's another animal.
Yeah. Honestly, music is more fun. It's more fun recording and doing your thing and putting your energy out. And I used to do like some more aggressive type music and stuff. That was my way of getting my voice out, like for real. Writing is more like introspective, sit down, and so the workflow is different because I listen to a beat over and over and then like write it down. I finish a song in like 15, 20 minutes and then I go in the booth and knock it out. I'm not one of these people that bullshit in the booth. Like, I pay for my hour, I'm gonna get my hour's worth.
Okay.
I'm gonna get my hour's worth. So I already know what I got going on, and I go in, do my thing, whatever, come out. I never really got the whole like marketing rollout thing with the music. I kind of just put it out and just let it be. When it comes to books, I have to be much more calculated. Like there's a lot of money coming and making these books, right? So, and it takes a long time. It's not like I could do a mixtape. I would usually do a mixtape or an album in about a year. This book took me like 4 or 5 years. So it's like I gotta put that effort and that energy into it, and I gotta strategize to make sure my book gets out.
Do you have to like have complete isolation for you to be able to write in peace, or are you the one of those that like you have like Netflix in the background and just like write like it's no stopping?
Right. So that's also a difference between like music and book writing. Is like with music, I can write on a bus. I can write on a sheet of paper. I mean, I'm like Eminem. I can write on tissue in the bathroom. But when it comes to book writing, I have to like sit down and I have to have my computer open. I may have some lo-fi music on, but I try not to do like lyric music. And I have to really sit down and concentrate.
Yeah, I noticed like for me, maybe it's the ADD, I don't know, but like if I'm trying to read something, I don't want to hear lyrical music. I want to hear instrumental because I can't get into the book or whatever I'm reading if I'm not able to picture it.
Right.
And the lyrics like distract me.
And it's the same thing with writing a book. Like you're really trying to get your point out, get your words across, and you're really trying to make a compelling book. And just like with most art or entertainment, well, I guess with books even more, you have to look at it at the reader's point of view. It's like while you're writing, it's like, what would the reader think of that? Because sometimes artists get so consumed in just what they want or what they is like. At the end of the day, you still trying to get it out to an audience. So
I apologize. I just can't. The first thing that I think of when you say that point, which is a very good point, is I think of a cartoon South Park where they talk about the book A Poop That Took a Pee, and it's like, how would that translate to somebody? It wouldn't translate. That's why you professionals like yourself take so much time and dedication to translate your vision properly.
Right. Absolutely. And even as I say that with music, I'd be like, fuck it, is my music. Like I've always used music to help heal myself. At the end of the day, it's me healing myself over what an audience like, but I still try to make music that people will like. You know, I still want people to like it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, but artists subjective. Some people gonna like it, some people not. So you might as well just be yourself.
Facts.
Yeah.
And so you said that you go to a lot of open mics, to do spoken word and things like that. Do you do that? Like, well, I mean, I'm sure you do it because you love it too, but is it a part of a rehearsal technique too? Like with your vernacular, with your, vocabulary?
It's funny. I actually did one last night. At this point, I've done so many open mics that I'm just kind of, there's
Own
always,
it?
yeah, I own it. There's a bunch of like, you're always gonna be a little nervous. There's always gonna be that little twinge. It's like, ooh, I'm coming up next. But I do practice, like a day before, like, get, just get it back in. Cause I don't do open mics as much as I would like to,
Mm-hmm.
but I do it pretty much often. Or if I have a new piece, I will really try to like go over and over again. Actually, really, like, music helps me with spoken word because I can listen to it. So most of the time, my spoken word comes from like songs that I've done, and I just kind of twist the words into like making it like a spoken word. So if I'm not like da 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 da, I'm like da 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 da. It's just changing the cadence a little bit to make it more slower and impactful rather than riding a beat. And then I just try to make it sharp. I try to add theatrics, like, if there's a certain emotion in the spoken word, that I try to make sure that my face is in my hands, do it, my body do it.
Mm-hmm.
With music, ain't nobody seeing that. They just they just hear the voice.
So you do. You're a composer then as well. So you know about the music theory of changing, your music style to different keys and so on.
A little bit. I'm by no means a composer. I tried that shit. It is exhausting. I don't have the patience to make beats or compose. I took like a music theory class, and just for being in the studio a long time and watching producers, cut and paste. And I've done my own engineering too. Like when I was a freshman, I had my own set.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a little bit about it, but I ain't know.
Mm.
Yeah.
You want to stick to editing books, not music?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to be a beat maker so bad. Though.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good hustle. If you can make good beats and get good clientele, you could just sell the same beat over and over and eventually give it off for a good amount.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you got the ear for it. If you're taking your own pieces and changing up, the keys and things like that, even if you're not professionally trained, that doesn't mean anything. Saying your ears is what will tell you. So.
Right. But I don't know if there's a difference between like adjusting your voice and adjusting I guess it's not too much because I mean sound is music, and a lot of people like Kendrick Lamar, adjusts his voice like he would a beat.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not too much of a difference, like you saying.
Yeah. And I swear I've seen these guys that talk about know these 3 chords and you can make any different song.
Right.
They take the same 3 chords, yeah.
I feel like I heard, and they like showed a whole bunch of different songs with those chords.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Wow. Wow, man, that's crazy. But I don't imagine that book editing is any easier than music editing. You're just really committed.
Listen, I can edit. I don't like to edit. I like to write. Editing is fucking boring. It's boring. It's boring. That's why it took so long. It's just like, no. Yeah. No. It's like, when I could be in the studio,
Yeah.
No, it's different.
Do you plan to maybe release any kind of audiobooks to accompany any of your books in the future?
I would love to, actually. Maybe if I do another poetry book, I might make that an audio book. I could make this an audio book as well,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely would want to do that professionally, though. Like I said, I do the little videos at home. I will do that professionally. Like I would come here.
Oh, yeah.
to do it, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, I personally, I would still like to have the book, but I love to listen with the audiobook and have the book too, because
Really?
sometimes, I don't know, like it develops a little more imagery for me, you know what I'm saying? Reading to me is just a very adventurous thing. I love getting absorbed in it.
Oh, okay. So you usually like fiction type books? Or?
I like fiction, nonfiction, history, science, a lot of different things. Things sometimes that I regret reading because I'm like, that was horrible. That was sad. What do you mean Lassie died? No, Yeller, no.
So then let me ask you a question then. If you are reading a book and about a third of the way through, you're like, I'm not gonna like this book. Do you still try to finish it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like some of them, like, I'm not going to say the name of it because it was gruesome. It was an anime, and it was so dark. And I was like, I want this main character to suffer like Dante's Inferno level. This is making me so angry.
Is it a newer one?
No. It was a previous one. I'll mention it after the interview because it's not appropriate for all ages.
Okay.
But man, I was just like, if this person does not get theirs, I'm going to be so angry. And they did, but I was still mad at the end. I was like, I still wasn't satisfied.
Oh my God.
But
right.
I had to finish the experience. You know what I'm saying? Right. Books are commitments, just like what you do as an editor and an author. It's commitment.
Right. Yeah, and I'm actually like I said, I want to do a fiction myself. I'm actually a little scared of a fiction. That's a big jump.
Ooh.
Like this, I could just go off my own experiences and advice and stuff. Like this, a fiction, I have to actually develop a story, which is why I'm spending so much time world building. But it's like, come on, man, at some point, you got to get to the paper.
Yeah.
Like, you got to write it.
Yeah. And so when you're doing your spoken word, is any of it, like you said, you practice in the mirror, but are any specific pieces rehearsed? Do you do some pieces over again, or is it just freestyle?
So I'll just go through the whole thing, and if I'm like learning it memory, I may break it up into pieces. Like that's just how I'm trained. Like, you know, with music, you got 2 verses and 2 hooks. You split them up. It's easier to remember that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I just treat it like music, really. And I just, you know, if I get this part, it's like, okay, I got the first 6 bars down.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get and that's kind of a strategy for actors too, to remember their lines.
Really?
Yeah, they go piece by piece until they know the whole thing. I used to do theater too, so I used to have to remember lines as well.
Yeah, like if in school, I don't know if you ever experienced it, like sometimes the teacher would give you songs to remember formulas and things.
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay. Maybe that was just my Brady Bunch school, but oh well. Or maybe it was because I was in the special ed program. I don't know. One of the two.
Oh, my God.
Hey, you know, people with ADD need love too, okay? We just need a little extra push, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But you can do it too, you know?
Absolutely.
But the point is, music is a great way for people to remember things, understand things, you know? Like, it crosses all language barriers, communication barriers.
Right.
So, do you ever find yourself when you're writing, like, one of your books or your poems and you almost start, like, singing it to yourself by accident?
Oh, yeah. And I also do, like when I write a verse or a poem or something, I would say it in a whole bunch of different ways to try to get, like, even when I'm in the studio, I usually do, like, a low cut where it's, like, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and then I do a energetic cut, and then I'll see, like, which one, like, makes more sense or whatever. Or I'll mess around and be like, you know, just try to see. And the more you do different, like, voices or different ways, different cadences, you can pick and choose in what points, and that makes your point, your spoken word, or that makes your verse more versatile. So you're not just sounding the same the whole way.
Mm-hmm. And y'all use a lot of body language and facial expressions too when you're doing your spoken words, you know. And I mean, you do theater and your writing and your music. Yeah. Those poor other people that go out there against you. They're like, man, I should just go home. Oh my goodness.
World's greatest.
The GOAT is here, y'all. You can retire.
GOAT.
Oh my goodness.
No.
So do you take from some of your theater background and apply it to your performances when you're doing spoken word and things like that?
Absolutely. So I used to kind of just, because I'm actually, like, pretty introverted introverted. So when I used to do open mics, I would just be like, and just use my voice rather than my body. But uh, I've been working on making sure to use my body as well, because gestures don't just come from the voice. It comes from hands. It comes from body. It comes from facial expressions. All that. So all of that stuff goes into the senses of making a good spoken word. So that, and one thing I learned that has helped me a lot is projecting my voice. I learned that in theater. So like just making your voice heard, making your voice loud without making it like screechy, just basing your voice basically, and that helps with spoken word as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, communication is something that some people need help in. Even when you think you're good, you still need help, baby.
Oh yeah, learning is an everlasting process. You can never stop learning. You can never stop figuring stuff out. It's once you feel like there's no more to learn, you probably need to move on to something else. Like, or look a little deeper, because I'm sure there's something you don't know, something you can attach to your own thing, something you can get inspired by, something.
Mm-hmm. So, and I know I'm jumping around here a little bit, but I remember ADD. It's okay.
You good.
So, about your other colleagues, your client's book, can you tell us a little bit about that and what the premise is?
So the Exile Child from Andre Andre's X is this is actually his second edition, so he's added a bunch more stuff. So what he would call it is a book about the Black diaspora as a child who has been exiled in his own life, as well as historically as Black people being exiled from certain things. He starts out talking about, protesting Black history, stuff like that, Black power type shit. And then he kind of goes into his own mental health, dealing with that, and his connections with, him being Black and dealing with certain things and his own mental health. And there's a little bit about love in there, but what I do like about it as well is, even with all the things that he's been dealing with, he kind of brings it back into like, okay, this is my rise. Like, so it's back to a positivity at the end of the day. It's like, all through all that, I'm still here, I'm still rising, I'm still healing, I'm still here. So that's what I appreciate about that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I've heard a lot about this from when they speak about theater and acting, but when it comes to writing, not just for your client, but for yourself as well, do you find yourself, whether it's nonfiction or real world experiences, that you have to almost relive those feelings to put them again on paper, like almost like put yourself back in that place again, like in an acting scene?
Right. That would be a form of like method acting, where you kind of gotta bring yourself back into like certain tragedies and stuff like that. In a way, yes. A lot of times, personally, when I write about things, I write about it when I'm feeling it at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be hard for me to like, not really, but it's not hard, but it's more effective when I'm writing while I'm feeling it.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I really think a lot of artists' best songs come when they have been pained, and they are currently pained, and they have to write that shit up. But yeah, so I mean, it's possible, but I do think the effect is bigger when it's there, because he wrote a lot of his poems while he was dealing with what he was dealing with. And that put strength in his poems because that emotion came in. You could still go back to that emotion and you could still feel that emotion, but it ain't gonna ever be as it is when you had it originally.
Right.
Yeah. So
I think there's a benefit too of, like you said, writing it in the moment of that at that feeling versus writing it after the fact. Because depending on what you're writing about after the fact, it could be either traumatic or it could be pleasant. You've heard some people that says, I don't want to write it down because I don't want to relive that or something like that, So, but others that are saying, well, writing it down or saying in a song helps me process what's going on. And then you get this masterpiece and you read it. You're like, did this come from you?
Right.
And you're like, it came from, yeah.
I'm definitely like the latter. Like, I literally feel like my thoughts come from my brain and then it go all the way down the arm, through here to the pencil, to the pad, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
And I do understand some people who say I don't want to rewrite it to relive it, but I mean, I guess it's just different thought processes.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody write in different ways and for different reasons.
Mm-hmm. But definitely in your instance and in your client's instance, it is a relieving factor. It was a great idea because y'all released a lot of gold to the world.
Right. For sure. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a relief for both of us, for sure.
Well, that's wonderful, man. That's wonderful, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. This was nice.
It was a pleasure to have you, man.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pleasure being here, for sure.
Do you have any last bit of advice for the listeners?
Just do your damn thing, man. Do your damn thing. Stop holding it. Stop keeping your ideas on your notes, in your phone. Get it out your phone. Get it on paper. Get it out there. Because you never know who's going to relate to your stuff. You never know who's going to pick up your stuff. You never know who you're going to impact with your story. Tell your story.
Tell your story.
Yep.
I mean, you don't know the impact it can have on some people, but it can be a wonderful impact.
Absolutely. You might not know what the impact it has on you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you heard it from the man yourself, okay? Tell your story. And let the thoughts just come down your arm, go to your hand, and release into the world, man. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us this week. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.